Uh-oh. You know why you can't hear me, Lana? I don't have my mic on. Woo. All right, I'm here. All is well. Mic's on. I'm here. All that good. I just said some really fire stuff, some good stuff. Didn't even hear it because the mic wasn't on. But I hope everybody's having a good Friday. I myself am feeling much better, and I thank you all. I try to save up my energy to give it to you guys, and so here I'm giving it to you. So it's Free Your Soul Friday, live with LC, Hope and Recovery Network, Recovery Soul Food Podcast, and Patreon page. If you don't know about those things, please go and check those things out. Today, we are talking about the battle for approval and why it means so much to us. And this is not just a recovery area. This is an every area in life. You know, the hierarchy of human needs puts approval and validation, I think, at like number 3 or 4. But I'm going to venture to say, and this is my own opinion, which all of this is that it's more like number 1. Hey, Danye. Hey, Vonnie Vaughn and Lana. You guys, if you don't mind. Hey, Brian. Yeah, Brian, everybody's like, where's your sound? Where's your sound? Yeah, I'm messing up a little bit today. So, before I get started into this, I want to do a little work. I ask that you guys, if you feel led, to share it out. If you do, thank you in advance. I really appreciate it. I kind of like these 12 noon meetings simply because these mornings have been kind of strange for me in the pandemic. And like you guys know, I haven't been feeling well. But I am on the mend. I'm getting better every day. And I just know it's because all of you have been praying for me and sending me amazing energy and love. And I feel it. You guys are amazing. I'm starting a watch party here on my regular page. If that's something you feel led to do, please do. But seriously, y'all, I mean, we're talking about something that really affects all of us, not just in recovery. We're talking about the need for approval and validation. How many times has that kept us in just a bad space? Because we, unfortunately, a lot of times we build our self-esteem on it. Oh, Danielle, I just sent you an invite. You're already here. All right. I think that's about all I'm going to send today. We'll see what happens. So here we are, hierarchy of needs. It's like number 3 or 4. Like I said, again, my opinion, I believe it's number 1. And anybody who's experienced a loss, anybody who's been in active addiction, who has been shamed and blamed, and you've stayed there longer, you know, it's that, you know, that need for approval, that need to be seen, that need to be validated. And some of us are just more sensitive to the opinions of others and outside influences than others. And that's okay. You know, that's where we got to get to. Wherever you are, that's okay. That's where you are. And unless you become aware of where you are, you can't make any changes forward. So we've got to not be ashamed or afraid to accept where we are and those shadows in our lives, a place of our own disapproval that, you know, make us feel uncomfortable. You know, it's okay to be uncomfortable. That's what recovery is. You're going to be uncomfortable. We're dealing with things that we have been numbing out and covering up for years. Whether you had trauma coming into addiction or you just created trauma while you were there, either way, you're not going to escape some type of trauma being an active addiction. And if we don't get to the roots of the addiction, then we manage to get that clean time, you know, that time where we're white knuckling through and we're just trying to stay clean and sober. And we manage to make it for a little while. And then like me, after, you know, oh gosh, what was it? 2009, 10, 11, 12, I had been 15 years clean from heroin, not 15 years clean from substance, but 15 years clean from heroin when I had that 9-month relapse. That 9-month relapse saved my entire life. And I'm going to tell you why, because it got me into recovery, not clean and sober, not just barely hanging on, but in recovery, just so sick and tired of going back and forth, that I was done with that. I had to heal the roots, and I knew it. So that contrast has to be there. Unless we get so tired of suffering, we won't ever stand up and put a stop to the pain. If we just keep going in it, we just keep going, and we go back and forth and back and forth. And so all of us have a need for the approval, outside approval. But we get in trouble. We get desperately in trouble when we build our entire self-worth on the opinions of others. Now, this is a big thing for me because, I struggled with this my whole life. Being born different, I was always trying to be like everyone else. I was trying so desperately to eradicate this that was different in me, and as well keep the secret and the shroud up so that no one could see that I was going through this on the inside. And so it became a huge deal for me what other people thought. It's taken me time and process and recovery, thank God, to move away from being so caught up in that. And it's taking me all this time to start to build my own self-approval and my own self-esteem. And that is so important in whatever you're moving towards in life. Your self-esteem is your foundation. And when we learn how to build it from the inside out, that's when we find true success and we find true healing. Now, again, some people are more people are sensitive to that, and that's cool. We can't make a judgment or compare ourselves to other people. And, because some people aren't as caught up in it. But I'll tell you, it's something that we all look for in our lives, whether we actively do it or not. It's a basic human need. When we think about where does this whole need for approval come from, we have to go back to our childhood, that cliche childhood, all that stuff. I know it's cliche, but it doesn't make it not true. And we go back to that whole punishment versus reward system. And many parents, just like I didn't know, parents before didn't know, you knew how to reward for good behavior and punish the bad. And depending upon the severity or whatever your situation was, the severity of that punishment, there wasn't a time in there that we separated the action versus punishing the bad. And so as children, we take that on as I'm bad. Not what I did is bad. I'm bad. And that begins. I caused you. I know that everybody's, I'm so tired of going back to my childhood and all that junk. Yeah, I get it. I know. But it still is real because you're born here with perfect self-esteem. I mean, have you ever heard a baby say, oh, stop cuddling me, I'm not worthy. Stop giving me that milk, I'm not worthy to drink the milk. It don't happen. So all of where we are today comes from somewhere. And I guarantee you, it's not all wrapped up in your addiction. It's not. Your addiction is not your entire issue. You had issues coming in. And if we don't ever get aware of those things, or don't ever decide to wake up to them, then we'll never change them. They'll just be these underlying things that block our success, block out things that we do, and we'll just somehow think we're cursed. I say that because I thought for sure I was cursed. There was some outside curse happening, and really it wasn't. It was all subconscious stuff putting out and getting back. So all right. So our self-esteem is directly linked There we with the punishment. I'm going to tell you, I've got notes because I've been working on this, because this was divinely inspired by a really good friend of mine who's going through a really rough time in early recovery with this very, very, very same subject. That thing that we do when we want to be seen by our family, when we want to be seen by those as, they're always so quick to point out all of the flaws, everything you did in active addiction, always ready to be there for that. But sometimes, we want to be validated by those that are important to us, those that we want their approval the most. And that's generally where it all started. You see how that wrapped back around to the childhood? Yep. See that happened right there. That just happened. It happened. So it's those initial relationships where we first began to feel that disapproval and the approval thing. So the back and forth. So it's many times it's our families. When we come into recovery, we just get clean. We want our families to see us and validate us because we don't quite know how to validate ourselves. And the point of this entire video is going to be the importance of learning how to build your self-esteem and how to get validated and approved by yourself. And it's not about not caring about the approval or validation of others or other people's opinions. That's not an area that we need to go through either, because if I were to ask you right now, do you think that we should care about the opinions of others? A lot of people would say, no, we shouldn't. And, all that because you think it's the right answer. But in fact, it's not necessarily the right answer. The approval of others is something we're always going to need. But if you don't have that vacuum, that emptiness inside of yourself, if you learn how to build up the fact that your approval means more than anyone else's, and that your self-esteem is strong enough to be able to hear and either accept or dismiss the opinions of others, then it's not healthy to be there. But we're always going to need that. And we've got to get over telling people you shouldn't care what they think and stuff like that, because not everyone is like each other. And it's not that simple. I mean, of course, someone like me knows I shouldn't care about what other people think. But I was 44 when I finally came to the place where I said, wait a minute, my happiness is far more important than keeping other people happy, which I'm failing at miserably anyway, because a person who's not happy can't keep someone else happy. It is not our job to keep other people happy, nor is it their job to keep us happy. That is an inside job, ladies and gentlemen, long and short. So the opinions of others can be great motivators to our ascension, to our change, to our growth. I mean, I'll give you the example of, a lot of you know my story, the I'll show you Bob story. My mom's husband had a terrible opinion of me. Some of it earned, some of it his own deal, but I took all of it and I internalized every bit of it. And when I got into recovery and started finding a bigger belief in spiritual things, basically, I wanted to show him that what you think is a dead issue in me, I want to show you that I'll do it, and I'll do it so well that you won't recognize me. And that is a motivator, as a fuel. And so the opinions of others can be great motivators in our growth, and the validation of others to tell us, you're doing a good job, means a lot. Think about your addiction, shaming, in your family, you've shamed and blame and all of that keeps you deeper in the grips of addiction. And then you look at recovery. It's the attaboys and the attagirls that keep us moving through and growing on through. So we need that. So we have to stop telling ourselves that we don't care and we don't need it, because we do need it. It's a basic human need. It's just we've got to start needing it from ourselves more. And so, I mean, we have the divine creator, that the most divine source that created everything that we see around us, including us, lives in us. We've got to understand that that's the most important opinion. So it's your approval, your opinion, how you lay down at night, how you're able to close your eyes. What you feel about you is far more important than what others feel about you. But it takes some building first. And again, when we get into that place, especially in new recovery, when we are wanting to be seen and we are wanting to be validated, we have to come to a place, and then people don't. That causes us to turn around and run back the other way. And that's part of the program. This is my opinion, okay? It's just my opinion from my life experience. But I believe that the louder a person is yelling, I'm clean, I'm clean, I'm clean, I'm clean, trust me, love me, all of that stuff, the shakier the ground that they're on. Because our actions always speak louder than our words. And when we turn that inward, and again, begin to build up our own self-approval, begin to build our self-esteem, our actions will speak for us. And we'll get to a place where we're less in need of all of them to retrust us, all of them to take us back, all of them to love us and approve of us. And we will be in a place where we're okay with or without it. So be careful of be careful of what you set yourself up for when you're in early recovery, trying to get all of those people to now turn and see you and say, oh yeah, it's all over with. Scratch all that past. You're right. You're clean. Because you're setting yourself up. What happens if you do fall? And now you fall in front of an audience. Sometimes it's a whole lot better to fall small than it is to fall big. You may not get a chance to repair those relationships again. And I say all this because I just don't want, recovery's hard enough. Okay. It's hard enough, especially in the beginning. You're going through so much. You're like a raw nerve walking around without your numbing agent. And if you don't have the skills and you're not actively putting yourself in environments that help you with those skills, then all you're doing is waiting for the bow to break and you use again. And if we subconsciously go looking, because a lot of times we will subconsciously go looking for defeat, just so that we can validate our using. And I don't say that to hurt anybody's feelings at all. If you know me, then you know that. What I say that for is so that there's an awareness there. You can't fix a pattern that we refuse to look at or refuse to accept as ours. I've got so many destructive patterns, so many that I have demolished and rebuilt over these years, and yet so many to go. And I'm all right with that. I'm okay with that today. The problem in new recovery is we're used to instant escape, instant gratification, that the process of patience is the killer in early recovery. But if you will sit, let's talk about triggers for just 1 minute. It's not in my notes. We're just moving off. Let's talk about triggers for 1 minute. The trigger has to come in order for you to beat it and move forward. The way we grow is to go through. So the trigger is not to sit there and focus on it until you just finally get up and say, okay, I tried. Now I'm back at it. I'm taking the easy road. It's about doing something positive for yourself. You're in the middle of a trigger. If you don't have the strength to sit in it and defeat it right there, then get up and do something like a good friend of mine did the other day, and go do something positive for yourself. Get yourself out of the mindset. Go take a drive. Go sit out in nature. Go play with your child, your dog, something. But if you don't put any skills in practice, what do you think's going to happen? I mean, we're only human. We can only sit and suffer for so long before our entire system needs a break. And what do you think that break is going to be if you don't have anything else in place to do? It's the importance of a battle plan. Start your battle plan before your feet hit the floor in the morning. What are you going to do when the trigger takes hold? What are you going to be looking for? Are you going to learn to start associating different times during the day that the triggers happen so that you can begin to get a little plan? Because we are products of our rituals, our routines. A lot of us do the same things every day in the same order. It gives us safety, security. Boundaries make us safe. Again, think of the little baby that it always makes me uncomfortable to see this, but when people like wrap that baby up so tight, it looks like it's in a cocoon. I think it looks crazy, like, oh my gosh, it can't even move. But the baby feels safe. So, we need the boundaries, and we need those tight boundaries in the early days. If I did not have, had I not had the monstrous accountability and responsibility that I had in my early recovery, I promise you, I would not be here now. If there were not so much on the line and dependent upon me being successful in recovery, I might not be here where I am today. I needed that. I needed a very short rope. Needed it. And it's all right for us to acknowledge that we need that. We get caught up in our pride and our ego that, that we don't want to ask for that kind of strict help because we think it makes us look too weak. Well, again, there we are wondering about how we look to other people. Who gives a shit? Your life depends upon your successful recovery. It depends upon it. And your recovery depends upon your willingness to be open and honest, especially with yourself. And what can we fix if we don't become aware? Look, I know it's not easy. I'd never sit here and lie to you and say that it is. What I can tell you is that it's beautiful. It really is. To be so spiritually awakened, to know myself better today than I've ever known myself, because I never knew who I was. I had a girlfriend tell me one time that I was a chameleon, that I was like a chameleon, that I could just, adapt to any situation and become whatever any crowd needed. And, that I was a great a master of those things. And yet it was all a defense mechanism. It was all an avoidance mechanism. It was a distancing. Because if I just adapted to that crowd, if I adapted to what they wanted, then nobody had to see the real me, which I was so desperately afraid to acknowledge. Because what would it mean if I finally said to myself, you are transgendered. You're not gay. You're not this. You're not that. You are absolutely this. Once we identify something, we've got to do something about it. So we will avoid for a lifetime even looking in that direction so that we don't have to deal with it and we don't have to do something about it. Think about how like guilty you feel when you know that you need to wash the dishes and they're just piling up and piling up and piling up. If you walked by and you never even acknowledged it, it wouldn't bother you at all. But the moment that you acknowledge it, it becomes connected and it's real. And so now every time you walk by them and you don't do them, you feel a little bit crappier and a little bit crappier and a little bit crappier. But should we be mad about feeling crappy? No, because eventually you're going to feel so dang crappy enough that you jump on it. So we have to use that stuff that's negativo to help motivate ourselves to move in a positive direction. Everything can't be unicorns and rainbows, not every day. How then would we effectively appreciate our unicorn and rainbow days? You got to have contrast. It's got to be there. We're just so used to numbing out. We're so used to feeling nothing. And, you know, when you're in active addiction, the majority of the time you're suffering anyway. So it's a very destructive cycle that we're on, you know, and it gives us these massive excuses to keep going back to what we know. And if it happens, it happens. It's all right. It's not condoning. I don't say do it, but if it does happen, you still got breath in your body. You can get up. And as long as you're blessed with that breath, you can always move forward. You can always grow through. You can always make something amazing out of your life. You can always achieve your dreams. If they're still alive in you, it means there's a possibility. I used to want to be, I was a kid. I think I wanted to be a fireman. That's not alive in me today. That is a dead dream. But my dream to inspire millions of people to learn to love themselves and each other and live in harmony with each other, learning and leading with love and mercy and grace. Well, that's a dream that's alive. And that's a dream I work towards every single day because that's all I want to do. I want to use everything that was destructive in my life to build something up in another's life. And that's the purpose. That's the mission. I believe that's why I'm here. I believe that's why I survived 7 being deads, you know? And for all of those that didn't survive that I was close to and loved, I owe it to them. I owe it to them to make their story last in the world and use it for positive change. See, we have a choice every single day on where we sit with anything that's going on in our lives and in the world. We can choose to use it for good. We can choose not to use it at all. And we can choose to sit in the self-pity of it all. I mean, what else do we say? So let's talk about now. Well, let's talk about this last thing before I get to the what we should do. Okay, how we start to build. Let's talk about this one thing. We can only change us. This was a hard realization for me to come to, but we can only change ourselves. All those people that we're trying to get to love us and see us and validate us and tell us that we're doing a good job, we can't change them. And no amount of yelling, please see me, please love me, none of that is going to matter. When you start to, again, work on what you can change in the world, automatically, outwardly, things begin to change around you. And again, your actions, your vibration goes out around you, and people see that. And there may be some that never, ever, ever do. But when we build that foundation and we work on ourselves, the ones that don't become far less important or a make or break situation in our lives. Every moment of every day, we are presented with choices. And we have to decide once and for all what path we're going to go down. And we have to use whatever motivation we need. If you need an I'll show you Bob to keep you on that path moving up, then use it. Use the worst of the worst in your life to move you forward if that's where you find motivation. Not everybody does. Some people need to be constantly, given high fives and attaboys, and that's all right too. We're all made different. But others have to, put that positive anger in there and say, you know what? I'll show you. You counted me out, but I'm fixing to become a standout. And that's what I'm doing. And that's my decision. And every day, you can't necessarily do it for you in the beginning. See, everybody says, well, you can't do it for everybody else. You got to do it for you. That's all well and good. But until you can find self-worth and love for yourself, if you're only doing it for you, it's going to be hard. I did it knowing that I needed to, okay? I did it because I wanted to be a parent for my son. I wanted to give him a home. I wanted to provide for him. I wanted to be his parent. I didn't want him to pay for my mistakes like I had paid for the mistakes of my parents and them for their parents, and so on and so forth. So every day, there were many days that I just barely slid out of bed and didn't want to do anything. I didn't even want to try, and I damn sure didn't want to be clean that day. But because that little boy was dependent upon me, I let that be my motivation until I started gaining some successes and I started gaining some milestones. And all of that starts creating self-esteem that in turn brings you around to be not only doing it for someone else, but now massively doing it for you, because you feel now that you have hope that you can do it. Self-esteem is being built in every moment, in every one of those choices. Self-esteem is either being built or torn apart. It's something we don't talk about enough, but it is something that is vitally important. It is the cement foundation to your structure, how you feel about you. What is your self-worth? What is the story that you are living by? What's your theme song? Who's talking to you? And only you can change those voices. I live in a world every single day where either at least once a day, I have to be aware of someone's bigotry, someone's hypocrite. I have to be aware of someone else's issue. And should it bleed on me? Absolutely not. Should it be directed my way? Absolutely not. But what am I going to do? Just continue to let it just dismantle me? Hell no. No. I did that way too long. way too long. And so let's decide for ourselves today that we're going to start building this, that we're going to do this process, that no matter where you are in your recovery journey, this next little exercise, can help wherever you are. So the way we can do this to actually create a stronger us is make a list, write it down. I'm serious, guys. Just here, listening, getting the information, the motivation, inspiration, all that, that's great. Really is. But take some time to really put pen to paper, because then you are incorporating your senses around this, and it's going to mean more, and it's going to stick with you longer. So take down this piece of paper. I don't care if you've got one thing or 1,000. Write the areas about you that you approve of now, not influenced by the opinions of others. Don't have somebody sitting by you going, well, you're this and you're that. No. You can't find out where you are if you don't do your own homework. We all know that it was fun to cheat in school to get that instant gratification of passing, but to not know the knowledge didn't take you very far. So write down the places in you that you approve of. What are those things? What are those areas? And again, we're not being graded. Your success doesn't matter if someone else has 100 and you can only manage up 1. It's not about anybody else. We can't compare. Comparison kills. This is just about you and waking up to you and growing deeper and closer to you. And that divine source that lives within you, that creator of worlds lives within you, wants you to see you the way it sees you. You were so loved that you were brought to this earth right now in the very body, mind that you were supposed to come here with, to walk the path that you are walking, to achieve a mission in this place today. And wherever you are, accept your place in the battle lines. You are important, so important. And then after you make that list, add something to it every day. One thing, because you're not going to be able to think it all. It's like trying to make a gratitude list. Gratitude lists grow. They grow. And so your approval list is going to grow as well. And there's nothing like finding an old crumped up piece of paper. I had one that was in my wallet that was folded up so many times and was so old, 6 years old, that where the creases were, the paper was going to tear. But it was my reasons why. It was my why list, because I pulled it out every time I was presented with a choice to go backwards or keep going forwards. And I had to remember my whys. What is a must for you, you will find a way to do. And you already know this about yourself. We know this about ourselves. We've done it. And so add to it every day. That way you're validating you. You're seeing your growth. You're not waiting for someone else to do it. You get to do it. And you're building. Every day in the process, you're building. You're adding a nail. You're adding sheetrock. You're adding paint. You're adding electricity. You've added your roof, shingles, whatever. You're building up you. And every day, give yourself 15 minutes, no less. And we all got 15 minutes somewhere in the day to do something for you. Do something that brings you peace, joy, comfort. I beat on the drums a whole lot. My wife hates it because it's like endless beating down there to her, but it's an electric set. So with my earphones on, I sound like a drumming master. I'm a rock star, baby. But to her, it just sounds like endless beating. But for 15 minutes, she puts up with it, like, because she knows that it brings me joy, that it brings me peace, that it gives me that creative outlet. And I'll tell you that when you are creating whatever it is, you are closer to the divine, your true self, than ever when you are in that creative flow. And it's a place, yeah, it is perfect to be in. I do it every day because I love it so much. You don't have to spend hours and all day there. Just 15 minutes. That's it. And again, your time will end up growing and you're building. And all of this is adding to your self-worth, to building your strength, to building your warrior nature. Because that's what you are. You are important. You are worthy of success. You are a warrior. Warrior, baby. So I want to share with you guys just one thing. So this was my creative flow this morning, and I want to share it with all of you. And I don't normally do this because, you're scared of rejection a lot of times. You're scared people are going to leave you them ugly comments. But shoot, for the last 2 years, I'm kind of resistant to all that at this point. I mean, I've had enough. So I'm going to share with my intuitive writing with you this morning. May 1st, 2020. Sitting here watching the sun break through the dawn, burning off the night, a new day has begun. What will it hold? Who will I be? Another moment of gratitude falls over me. I am patient. I am kind. I am love. I am divine. So what is my mission? And will my courage stand tall? To go through this day different from them all. Will I find mercy? Will I know grace? I'll experience it all when the sun shines upon my face. This earth we take for granted is begging us for change, for the beauty we destroy today will never be seen again. Our lives are no different when we focus on the pain. That once happy child longs to be free again. Addiction is not our enemy. It's in fact our best friend. For without it, we may never ascend. The pain is necessary, for it brings in rockets of desires that we can manifest in. So destroy those old limiting beliefs, the ones that tell you to live in defeat, and usher in this new day with love, joy, and peace. I love you all. Good morning, Pam V. Love you. Jennifer Wien, thank you for being here. Andrea Litton, thank you as always for being here. Sam, my mate, I love you, love you, man. You rock. You got a mighty mission in this world, man. You got a mighty mission. Bonnie Von Max, thank you so much, as always, for being such an amazing supporter of mine. Lana Rossman, you know I love you. My warrior of the week. We're going to get together. I hope you're going to do it with us this Saturday. We're going to have a Saturday night meeting. Another Bradley Bagwell and the Recovery Crawl meets LC Recovery Motivation with special guest Jen is back. So we're going to do another threesome soulful Saturday, and it's going to be amazing. You guys made the last one so good. So it'll be Saturday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Might be 8 p.m. Eastern time because they're on Central. So Danielle, so good to see you. Everyone on the watch party, I love you. My brother Brian Carey, I cannot wait to see you, man. Riding Over Addiction, guys. Get over there and look at that page. If I haven't left anything out, remember, Recovery Soul Food Podcast is available on all major podcast platforms, including Apple iTunes and Spotify. Thank you all for so much your support on that. It's been amazing. Another new episode is going to launch out this week. Didn't get one for this last week because of the sickness, but hey, down with the sickness, right? And be sure to check out the if you like this, what we're talking about here, and you want to continue to go deeper and get some even more personalized advice and stuff, then jump over to our Patreon page. That's www.patreon, P-A-T-E-T-R, I'm in the spelling bee, patreon.com/recovery soul food. There is a tier there that everyone in everyone's budget they can afford to get in. Remember, invest in yourself. We're not used to investing in our growth. We're used to investing in our destruction. So it's going to be a little, we got to ease into it, and it's cool. Recovery Soul Food channel on YouTube, doing good things over there too. This is actually going live there with that too. So everyone, thank you so much for just being a big, huge part of my life and my journey. I love you all. I will see you guys, God willing, tomorrow night for Soulful Saturday, live with LC, Bradley Bagwell, and the Recovery Crawl right here on LC Recovery Motivation. That's 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Please come by and see us. All right. I love you all so much. Have an amazing rest of your day. I love this. Bye, guys.